Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whenever you're watching. Thanks. Thank you guys for tuning in, analyze, and educate one more time. Guys, going into week 8, our XFL quarterback rankings, running down our list. Couple debuts, couple guys ending the season. It's pretty awesome. We've continued to push forward on this. But let's get into it. Honorable mention, two debuts this year, or in two debuts on the list for the honorable mention. Got Kevin Anderson, Nick Tiano. Anderson, one of my personal favorite quarterbacks in the XFL for 2023. Guy was with the AAF, the Spring League, a couple stints in Canada. Came in when Drew Plitt injured his knee. Plitt is obviously done for the season with a grade 2 MCL tear. He threw one pass for 5 yards, a little screen pass to Davion Smith. And then Nick Tiano came in when AJ McCarron fell awkwardly on his shoulder, threw two passes for 5 yards as well. Tiano, if you don't know him, is a backup for the St. Louis Battlehawks. He's originally from UT Chattanooga. It's his second school. Spent some time with the Texans, the Argos, and Alouettes, and now he is with the Battlehawks. This is his professional debut. So both those guys come in on our honorable mention. Coming in at number 10, Jawan Pass, San Antonio Brahmas. Previous ranking, number 8. Pass came in relief, went 2 of 6 for 32 yards. No touchdowns, no picks, no rushing attempts, no rushing yards. Pretty much, Benkert's out. They just brought in Paxton Lynch off waivers. You got Jack Cohn still on the mend with his injury. We're not really sure what's going on. Pass came in to spell Benkert. Obviously, 3 fractured ribs. Not a good situation for him. Very limited workload. I'd like to see Pass get the start next week. San Antonio is still in the playoff race because that Southern Division is a lot weaker than we all think. But ultimately, needs more reps. He's not really been given the fair shot. I think he's thrown 20 pass attempts this whole year. So we'll see what happens in San Antonio. Ultimately, not a great situation. Coming in at number 9, unfortunately, his final appearance on the ranking, Drew Plitt from the Arlington Renegades. Last week, he was number 9 as well. 19 of 29, 213 passing yards, no touchdowns, 1 pick, 4 rushing attempts, 29 rushing yards. He's the second quarterback from the Renegades to end his season a little bit prematurely. Obviously, Kyle Slither was released last week, and Plitt is going down with an MCL injury per the team. Last week, he originally peaked at number 12 in our preseason rankings, got down to 5 at one point, but he's went 1-2 over over his couple starts. He's struggled pushing the ball downfield, been very timid in his passing attempts. Really, obviously, it was his first professional season. Hopefully, next year he comes and returns to continue to develop, but it'd be nice to have a new offensive coordinator in Arlington. Coming in at number 8, if we really want to get goofy as well, his final 2023 stats were 63 of 99 for almost 63.6 completion percentage, 668 yards, 3 touchdowns, 4 picks, 14 rushing attempts for 57 yards, 3 fumbles. Coming in at number 8, Cole McDonald. He was at 4 last week. 15 of 32, 106 passing yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick, 8 rushing attempts, 40 rushing yards, and a fumble. Obviously, McDonald came back to earth a little bit. Personally, I think that not only did the Battlehawks game plan for air quote number 14, but also the magic that he kind of had with coming in last week versus DC. Obviously, Greg Williams is an amazing preparer against these quarterbacks. So I feel that Williams was kind of caught off guard with how much McDonald played. Really didn't prep for probably much. And then when McDonald went out there, he kind of slung it. This week, not so much. Very, very timid. The Battlehawks do a great job of rotating defensive players in all levels of their defense, from the defensive linemen, linebackers, and defensive backs. I really like what they did. They were able to kind of keep him a little bit off guard, and he's not the greatest passer. Forced him to do it with the rushing attack. Defensive linemen and linebackers were swarming. Those defensive backs always come up and make a lot of TFLs. I think Nate Meters had 11 tackles. So sad to see what's going on with McDonald. Status is unknown for Silvers. If he's healthy, I imagine he gets to start. Coming in at number 7, his final appearance on this list going to be Kurt Benkert with the San Antonio Brahmas. Last week he was 12 in his debut. This week he went 22 of 31, 179, one touchdown, one pick, 2 rushing attempts, 7 rushing yards, and 1 fumble. Put in the article, don't be happy that it's over. Be happy that it happened. It's a very good way to put it this way. Glad to see Benkert get some regular season professional experience. Unfortunately, he's hurt. He looked pretty comfortable in it before the injury, but the guy battled through 3 broken ribs, and ultimately they tried to put a pad on it. It was putting too much pressure on the injury, and now it appears that he's done for the season. They put him on the reserve list. I think if Benkert didn't get hurt, this is a different game this week. But now, obviously, with Lynch coming in for San Antonio and Pass there as well, very curious to see what's going to happen for this last second playoff push. Overall 2023 stats: 23 of 37, 62.2 completion percentage, 181 passing yards, 1 touchdown, 2 picks, 4 rushing attempts for 12 rushing yards, and 2 fumbles. Coming in at number 6, Derek King, DC Defenders, previous ranking, honorable mention. He went 1 of 1 for 12 passing yards, 1 touchdown, 3 rushing attempts, 20 rushing yards. Guys, 100%, this is an over ranking, but I'm okay with it. If you saw that touchdown pass that he threw, I think it was Briley Moore, one of the most ridiculous passes. It's linked in the video from my article for XFL News Hub. It was one of the most ridiculous passes I've ever seen. It kind of looked like Derek Jeter throwing the baseball, if you're a baseball fan. It was extremely acrobatic. King gets some legacy points this year. He's thrown 4 touchdowns, has accounted for, I think, 4 or 5 on the ground. He's been a little effective gadget player, being used in not oversaturated in an oversaturated way. They had him running routes. I think he had a pass target. I'm not sure, but they had him running some routes, putting him in the backfield with Teamu. He's been an all-around fun player to watch, so he's getting some legacy points. I'm putting him at number 6. You know, it was one of the better. It was a very underrated performance because of what he didn't do on the stat sheet, because of just being out there in the backfield messing around a little bit, and then it translated to obviously Teamu's passing success, which we'll talk about him later, and also Abram Smith cashing in on a decent one, because they were all 3 of them were in the backfield at one point as well. Coming in at number 5, making his debut for 2023, Jalen McClendon, Vegas Vipers. Last week was unranked. 21 of 31, 264 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, 8 rushing attempts, 25 rushing yards, and 1 fumble. Now, a lot of people don't know this, but McClendon actually had stats prior to him coming to the 2023 XFL. He was Josh Johnson and Chad Knopf's backup in 2020. McClendon threw 4 passes, completed 1 of them for 0 yards. It's kind of ironic. He had more touchdowns and passing yards in 2023 than all of 2020. Pretty awesome to see. His mother came to the field. Kind of looked like he just went out there and had fun slinging it. Obviously, the Vipers are eliminated from playoff contention. They just picked up D'Angelo Fulford, a Mount Union Division III quarterback with arena experience, and was part of the CFL was a part of MLFB for about 5 minutes. But good to see McClendon going out there. I don't obviously think he gets an NFL opportunity. He's been with the Ravens and I think the Washington uh, football team, Commander Skins, years ago. It's the 2018, 2019 time frame. But with 3 games left, McClendon Vegas has had some good offensive outputs from their quarterback. It just kind of seems they've gotten the short end of the stick. They're going to St. Louis this week. I don't expect anything dynamic, especially now there's a week of film on him, kind of that same vibe that I get from how the Battlehawks were able to prepare for Houston's quarterback Cole McDonald, but McClendon's going to be fun to watch. He's a bigger guy, so he's obviously he's a little bit athletic. So we'll be able to see how their Battlehawks defenders do a decent job of wrapping him up. Coming in at number 4, Ben DiNucci, 21 of 32, 266, one touchdown, one pick, 9 rushing attempts, 52 rushing yards. I mean, they've won 5 straight games. Part of me seems like it's because of Ben. Part of me seems like it's in spite of him. Every week he's due for a turnover. He's got 14 on the season through 7 games. I mean, it's I'm not impressed at this point. It seems like, and I've talked about this in nauseum, that DiNucci is trying to be too cute, make these throws that instead of making, a check down or something like that. I'm very curious to see what DiNucci does moving forward when he's got DC and St. Louis back to back. This is obviously the playoff push for them. And if they win these 2 games, they clinch and possibly they clinch the division, the number 1 seed. Coming in at number 3, Quinn Dormady, previous ranking number 6. I mean, Dormady put together one of the greatest performances in not only pro football, but alt football, but maybe pro football in general. He went 27 of 34, 328 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 picks, 8 rushing attempts, 2 rushing yards, 3 touchdowns, and 1 fumble. I mean, this dude, he's got the keys to the Ferrari now with Paxton Lynch gone. Looks like DeAndre Francois is going to dump down to that QB3 with Quinn Flowers at QB2. Shane Matthews calling the plays. The offensive line play is less than stellar, but it seems effective enough. I like Shane Matthews calling the plays. We've seen it with success with relaying that information to Paxton Lynch, as Lynch had some of the better games, but he's obviously with San Antonio. Dormandy's got some nice zip on his ball. He's actually throwing into his passes rather than chasing for his life. The offensive line has improved a little bit, but you got some studs on at receiver for the Guardians. I mean, Jalen Smith could be a tight end 1. Jordan Thomas is no one to slouch at. Cody Latimer, Dan Williams, Charleston Rambo. All these guys are good players who could be on NFL rosters, the back end of it. So we'll see how Dormady steps up going in the week 8 right now. Coming in at number 2, I got Jordan Ta'amu. Last week he was at number 2, 21 of 29, 285 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 rushing attempts, 23 rushing yards, no turnovers. Ta'amu hasn't thrown an interception in 6 games. He's taking care of the football. He had a couple fumbles over the way, but the guy is starting to progress and actually trusts himself as a passer. He's fine. He's at like 63% completion percentage, which is up from obviously the first 3 weeks and his time in the USFL. He was at 70 through 5 games, just crossed over 4,000 passing yards in alt football. It's him and Chris Blair are providing a real deadly connection. It's fascinating to see how Fred Keiss is able to develop him and get him comfortable in his offensive system. I'm really excited to see what Ta'amu's got going on, especially on a bounce back week. I don't know who I'm rooting for as a St. Louis guy, but I mean, I would rather face Seattle in the playoffs, but either way, this is a big game coming up against the Sea Dragons to see what's going on. But I think Ta'amu leads his team to a victory pretty easily because Ben DiNucci is going to probably make Michael Joseph, the defensive back for the defenders, look a lot better than he really is. Coming in at number 1, who else? AJ McCarron, right? Previously, he was 1. He's been like the top ranking for the last 3 weeks. Put together another solid performance, 26 of 34, 222 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 picks, 4 rushing attempts, 5 rushing yards. He's got 17 touchdowns on the season through the air, 18 total. Mind you, Tommy Maddox threw for 18 in 2001 in the first iteration of the XFL. I'm really excited to see how much, you know, how much fun AJ has against the Vipers this week. That's what we talk about. He always talks about it. He's having fun and whatnot. As we progress through the season, it's been amazing how as a leader and as a man, like how much fun he's having, coaching these guys up. I talk with Eric Magwood, the backup offensive tackle, when he got hurt. Um, excuse me, when he replaced Jared Jones Smith due to the suspension. It's been it's been a great opportunity to see him um, kind of progress through everything, like the way AJ talks to his linemen, his receivers, and everything like that. He's been an amazing coach on that field. He's having a great time playing football, and he's leading this city and doing so much for this city. And I'm blessed to be a part of it, to cover it, and be able to go to these games and see what he's doing. Guys making all the throws. He's taking what the defense is giving him. They're playing him deep. He's going underneath. The game is too easy for AJ at this point. Guys, that's my week 7 going in the week 8 quarterback rankings. If you can, like and subscribe. It makes a big difference for me. Makes me put out some videos. I got my USFL quarterback rankings going as well. I'm prepping with that. And then following that, I got an interview with a CFL quarterback that we did not in person. We had to do with Zoom, but we'll get there. Thanks, guys, and have a great day.